Yo, welcome to another episode of the BJJ GOONS podcast. I'm one half of the team here, Tim, the Mushmaster Spriggs, and with me as always is...
Yo, what's up, everybody? It's Nico Ball, no new Nico, back again. And once again, I brought some friends from New York. I think this finally closes it out of like the whole little squad of everybody. So we had Pops Corello on recently. We had Fernando Rials on before. This is if you're watching on YouTube, you'll see there's two people here. So we have a couple, a BJJ couple. We have Natalie and Osiris Felice from New York. What's up, guys?
What's going on?
What's up? Happy to be here. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for coming out. So Natalie and Osiris, on top of training jiu-jitsu, they both work in kind of like in the industry or in the industry of recovery, which is something we're going to talk about a little bit later. Osiris does yoga and Natalie just got certified as massage therapist.
Yeah, licensed massage therapist back in January, end of in like March. COVID complicated things, but yeah, at the beginning of 2020.
So yeah, you guys both also do a lot of work for the community. So when I was trying to make the outline and like send like some info from your Instagram to Tim, like it says LMT, and we get all this like LGBTQ training. I was like, what the hell is LMT? I was like, does this have to do with her pronouns or something? And then I was like, no, and then it's her website. I was like, licensed massage therapist, right?
I'm an LGBTQ LMT.
Z.
Yeah, so that was funny. I had that doing that this morning before my coffee. But before we get into more about you guys, we're going to talk about, like current events. Like obviously Gordon Ryan just like slapped the crap out of, I don't know, I curse all the time. I don't want to say why. He slapped the shit out. He slapped the shit out of Andre Galvao. And I just woke up to that. So I was upset because, Andre Galvao trains with Tay today. So I'm like, my take on that was like, if Favela Jiu-Jitsu was like a publicly traded company, like my stock would be dead. Like I'd be down there with like GameStop or something. I don't know. But how do you feel about it, Tim?
I don't think it's a publicity stunt. If it is, it makes Andre Galvao look really bad. I think, honestly, if we're being like real fair, it's Andre Galvao's fault he got the shit slapped out of him because he ran up on old boy. You know what I'm saying? Like, why would you run up on him and like shove him like you're in high school, like in middle school, like, like a little chest bump and not expect for fire to return to you? Like, I just don't understand where they do that at. And he was right to get the shit slapped out of him. And I don't know why he wouldn't try to fight him on site. Like, if he brought the smoke, you have to finish it.
Thank you, Tim. I'm glad you're saying it, Tim, because exactly the moment I saw it, that was my very first thought. I'm like, if you're coming with such intention, then what happened? Like, were you going to whisper really hard? Yeah, like I don't know. It's very weird, and that's why it opens itself. Like, is it a publicity stunt? But if it's a publicity stunt, you look really bad. Like, I don't, like, what are you trying to do with this? Like. It hurt. That my face hurt.
He looked like he got slapped into shock. Like he's just like, I don't know. And yeah, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, the energy when you're going in at first and then get slapped and then just like back down. So I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me.
I mean, honestly, from a martial artist perspective, Sifu always speaks. My Sifu always speaks like, you have to prepare for it, be mindful. So if you're going up with that intention after the energy you already gave, in a sense, like, why were you not prepared for that? And then after it happened, then, like, where's the retaliation, or like, how do you, I don't know. It's weird.
It was super weird. Like that thing you say about the energy, and especially because, Andre Galvao is just like known for all like the steroids for the good or the bad. And it's like, I don't understand why he went out and was so disrespectful. And then he got slapped and then he continued to follow. And the interview was after he got slapped, or that was before he got slapped. And then you're still talking to him on the interview. So people can still hear you when he's being recorded. Like, it was just an odd moment. It was an odd moment for jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, I think it's just, go ahead. I I was gonna say, it makes the sport look kind of bush league and like goofy. If these are the two people that are the most popular or the ones that are in the forefront of representing what the sport is, it makes us look real bad. You know what I mean? Like Andre Galvao, one of the best guys ever. Gordon Ryan is one of the best no-gi guys out. For that to happen is just a real black eye on what the sport's supposed to stand up for.
No, I agree with you. And also, if you look at it and you say maybe it's following a formula that works, to say, for MMA, right? Like, what's his name? The Irishman.
Conor McGregor.
Like making that rivals and all this sales tickets. So it's following a formula that's based on, trying to get more people in the seats,
like WWE.
So it's like, it's following something that already is the status quo rather than try to create something else, which jiu-jitsu, I feel, can offer, like instead of taking, let's get away from the, I don't know if this is offensive to people, but, like the meathead way of approaching jiu-jitsu and be able to like show that it is a gentle art. And there's a lot more than just the physicality of jiu-jitsu,
For sure. But I have better news, Nico. Something a little bit brighter.
Anything is better than that.
A former guest of the show, Pedro Munoz, just won last night in the UFC Fight Night.
Okay, there we go. Okay.
Yeah, nice. Very well, too. He looked good.
He chopped that boy's leg.
He demolished his leg. I was a little bit worried. I was like, he ain't setting up no combos. I was like, because Pedro Munoz and Andre Galvao, they're both students of today. So after Galvao, like I was watching that fight, I went over to my friends because I really needed that win. I really needed that win.
So yeah, I mean, your boys went 1 for 1 for the night, Nico. It's okay. Can't win them all. And
50K, I'll take that,
Yeah. Oh, he got the 50K?
He got the fight of the night bonus. Is that?
Oh, dope. Good
yeah,
for
he
him.
got the fight of the night.
They do. They both get the 50K.
Do they?
I think so.
I mean, that would make sense. Somebody asked that last night and we said no, but like, I guess if you get the ass whooping of the night, you should definitely get paid out.
Yeah. Just bleed, baby. Just bleed. That's the UFC ethos.
But I mean, Jimmy was fighting back. He was doing his thing. Like he wasn't like what was the other fight that he got ran over?
I'm very quiet because I fell asleep. So
oh shit!
This came on early too. It was early.
I don't remember that part. So
I'm forgetting now. But anyway, I mean, I feel like Jimmy, he did his thing, but yeah, he just took his legs out. And, after that, it's a wrap.
Yeah, it's over. Well, so I have one last bit of good news, Nico. Actually, I want you to share it with the group. Tell the goons
that we're dropping our Patreon, or that we've.
Hey,
yes.
Yeah, finally. So Tim has always been talking about doing the train wreck, and he always talks about money and all of that, whatnot. So we are doing a Patreon. We launched it. Well, it's finally live. So it's patreon.com/BJJ GOONS. So we'll have 2 extra episodes of the podcast. Tim will be doing a technique a month. And we're also going to put some more like video content and stuff like that. This is a good way to announce it. I didn't even think about this, but I was going to ask like OC to do some like yoga stuff, not everybody that does the podcast watches the video. So stuff that would be exclusively video, because we were talking about recovery and things like that. So go check that out. Throw us some money. It's $5 a month at the minimum tier. And then each level goes up. You get a little bit more stuff. I do not remember what all it is. So you can go check it out.
That's dope. I'm very happy for you. I really believe in, creating for ourselves, for ourselves, so the fact that you're doing this and doing it for the community and doing it, from a good place, right? Like you can tell when you're doing things just because you're trying to get money. It's very obvious, I feel, all the blessings to y'all, and I look forward to being a Patreon. So everybody watching this, y'all know what to do.
Yeah. Y'all really created a dope platform here, and I'm really like I was listening up to a few episodes behind because I'm like, I'm not getting into something not knowing what's going on. So I'm like, I really like enjoyed like just listening to y'all and like getting to know y'all more. And so yeah, it's like anything you can support, go on that Patreon.
Hell yeah. And like the point is to have more of a community, like when we're doing like techniques and stuff, to be able to get more of an interaction, to know what people want, so we're not just like shooting in the dark. So that should be really dope.
Yeah, look, I'll be more than happy to do those videos, you know, because jiu-jitsu and yoga are actually two practices that I started at the same time, around the same time. And so very naturally, of course, when I practice yoga, I'm thinking about jiu-jitsu, you know? And then when I see the results when I'm rolling and when I'm practicing, then it just inspires my yoga practice even more. So, you know, to be able to share that with the community has always been my desire as the teacher that resides inside of me. So, you know, let's do it. I'd be more than happy to.
That's what's up. So you also kind of touched on like something else that like that I was getting into. It's like you said you got into jiu-jitsu and yoga like around the same time, and normally you come up with like an introduction for the guests and give like their titles, but I know you guys do so much, like because I know you're also an accountant, and I guess that's like what's on your W-2. So I just wanted you guys, and maybe you can, if you want to do one at a time, and just like talk about OC and how you got into BJJ, and then backtrack it. Like, how would you give your intro? What do you consider your title to be? What is your role?
You want me to start, or you want me to go for it?
I don't know. The ball's in your court now.
I think because you started.
Yeah, because you already started. So like you can go back and forth. I mean, you guys got the dynamic. You've been together longer than me and Tim.
So you know, I'm like, you know, the women. Nah. Sure. So my journey to BJJ is actually very interesting because I've always been, you know, like from like every I would say kid in New York, you know, you start with Taekwondo, you know, so I was a Taekwondo kid back in the day. And then I got into judo, and I practiced under Sensei Pereira in the Bronx up until my blue belt. And then we moved away, my family and I, so I couldn't continue to practice. So then for, you know, many years later, I started looking up, I wanted to get back into judo because I missed training. So when I started looking into judo, I found JKD. And I started practicing JKD, and from then on, that was what I dedicated myself to. So the only classes that I missed in my JKD program were the grappling classes. And at that time, you know, because like you mentioned, I work as an accountant, so I could only make the evening classes. That specific day, I couldn't make the grappling classes. And so somehow, I don't even know how I came up with Fernando. I mean, Fernando is, I call him the jiu-jitsu ambassador. So it's very natural that jiu-jitsu just came up in conversation, you know? So he said, why don't you come and meet Bronx Jiu-Jitsu Junior out there and see what we're doing. And from the moment I stepped in, you know, into the mats, I felt at home. You know, it was, you know, a group of POCs. It was, you know, people who look like me, people who speak like me, and it was just complete automatically, you know. And so Junior, you know, he's I think he'll say this himself, you know, he's a hood dude from the Bronx, and, you know, from the 70s, 80s, you know, Pablito and Fernando's era. So I connected to that automatically because that's, you know, I was born in Dominican Republic, but I came and to the Bronx when I was 7 years old. So, you know, I didn't run the streets in the way that I was pitching anything or, you know, stabbing anyone. But I grew up in the Bronx, you know, like I lived in the hood, and I knew the hood, and I walked through the hood, and, you know, I just, you know, coming from an immigrant family, you know, we're pushed to be the very best, you know, like you know, you have to dedicate yourself to school. That's, you know, and a lot of, you know, immigrant stories I continue to hear, and it was mine, you know. So my father really, as a very totalitarian man that he was, made sure that I was always in school. And eventually that's how I got into accounting, and, you know, more to that story. So I'll stop there.
Okay, yeah.
well, that's the story of how I got into jiu-jitsu.
Yeah,
so you mentioned like my title. So like if I say who I am, it's funny because I've been thinking about this, right? I'll say I'm an artist because I am a martial artist. Like I think of me and myself as I walk through life as my purpose is as a martial artist. Yoga is a part of my martial art, you know? Now, I would also say that I'm also a philosopher. I enjoy philosophy. I'm a student of philosophy. I like to, the question of what is the purpose, what is life, in a sense that, you know, many people throughout history have pondered on, is something that I myself like to study as well. So different philosophies are things that I'm drawn to. So then in that sense, I'll say that I'm a student of philosophy. I'm a philosopher. But if, you know, to say yes, I am a martial artist. And that's really the way I see myself.
Yeah. I'm not, I started jujitsu a year after. I mean, I did like karate when I was younger. I really liked it, but you know, my parents or my family was poor, and I had softball and I had karate. They're like, we don't have enough money for both, so pick one. So I did softball, but I was always really into, you know, sports and being active, doing something. I can't sit still. But with jujitsu, you know, I got introduced to it really in Rio when I went on this family trip with them. And I thought it was really cool and I was really interested in it. And then once I got into it, I'm like, this is weird. Like, this is not something that I would normally be attracted to. Like, I feel like I'm very protective of myself and my space and my personal space. And this is literally like an opposite of this. It's an invasion of your space and learning how to escape it. So it took a long time for me to really kind of like, I was just exposed to it, you know, obviously just going, and like my son also trains jujitsu. So
you said
like,
obviously just going, but you went all the way to Brazil.
Well, that was a trip. That was like a family trip, right? That was like
a family jujitsu trip. And OC mentioned before he was still only a white belt, like a 6 month.
Oh no, he's like,
that's
yeah,
gold.
Like,
that's a
like,
lot
I
of
just
dedication.
wanted to point that out.
Like, yeah, he was like his belt was like crispy white, like white, you know, like his loner gi was like, you know, yellowish, and you could tell how brand new his belt was, right? And I'm just like, I was like designated babysitter for the trip, which was cool. But like, it was cool because I got to really see, like, be exposed to like to jujitsu and in the home of it. And so, you know, I came back from that trip like super hyped, like, yeah, I want to get into this, and you know, and then once I was into it, I'm like, oh shit, like this is crazy. Like, I don't know. It took me a while. Like, it took me a while to really like get used to it. And then I think once I started really gaining the trust of my teammates, and like I started getting to know people and like feeling them out, then I'm like, okay, fine, I could do this now, you know. But it took me like a good year. And so yeah, that's right now. Like I haven't trained in a long time because of COVID. I also took some time off right before I got certified, like right before I did my licensing test as a massage therapist, because I was just like really super focused on that. And then COVID happened. So it's been like a nice solid year since I've been able to get on the mats. And yeah, I've been working, like, you know, I was able to, you know, do my certification. I got my license sometime in May, and you know, I've been slowly getting clients in like the most responsible way possible. But I'm really just kind of figuring it out. I think everyone during COVID is just trying to figure out how to do things in the best way with minimizing exposure. Sorry, if you hear some whining, it's our dog. I don't know if you can hear that, but
I can. I was like, someone is a little old. You know, I was
no,
like,
it's my dog. It's my dog.
Like somebody's crying like that.
Yeah, it's our dog.
We have a 10-year-old blue nose, and who still swears he's a 6-month-old puppy.
Yeah, so
Oh
we have like a gate so he won't come in, so he's crying about it. So don't worry, we don't have anybody like locked up anymore. Our dog. But yeah, so you know, I've been really just immersing myself in like my work, and that's really what I dedicate myself to. There's a saying in Spanish, like in Spanish, you don't ask people like, what do you do? Like, what's your work? You say like, ¿a qué te dedicas? Which means, what do you dedicate yourself to? Which I like a lot more, because a lot of people don't define themselves by their work. Mm-hmm. And then that way you can just answer like, well, I dedicate myself to this, to, you know, to healing work, to being like I consider myself like a healing facilitator. I have issues with like calling myself a healer and people calling themselves healers. Like, I understand that, but I think that everybody is their own healer. So I wouldn't want to call myself a healer. So I consider myself a facilitator in people's process of healing themselves.
Wow. Do you think like jiu-jitsu inspired you to kind of get into massage, or you would have found that even if you weren't training because you were still in like that kind of like healthy lifestyle community?
Yeah, I think it showed a need in my community, right? So we were already into like fitness and like, you know, and recovery, and we knew the importance of recovery, of restoration. But it wasn't until like, yes, like I would come home and like your knuckles hurt, your every joint hurts. Like I literally saw like swelling, and like, you know, there came a point that like his wedding ring didn't fit anymore. And I'm like, oh, that's convenient. But no, for real, like his knuckles were so swollen that like they wouldn't fit anymore. And so like, I realized that a lot of like my teammates too, you know, it's like train, and there's no rest, and the rest is just like, I've literally hurt myself, and now I have to rest. And the first question is like, when am I getting back on the mats? And it's like, there's really no time to take, they don't take time to really just like relax or rest or really think about how to recuperate. So I feel like massage was really important in order to like, I wanted to create this culture within like my community to show like, yeah, like I want to train and I want to get better just like everyone else, but I also value my body. This is the only body that I have, and I need to make sure that like I'm going to take care of myself. So there needs to be a balance, you know, and I know that I'm not in the same realm as people who like compete and do this for a living and need to train a lot more. But at least if I could influence in a little bit of like, you know, could you take one day off, or could you take one class off, like just to rest? Like if I can create that influence amongst my teammates, like I would feel like I did my job.
But even that, I mean, even people who compete regularly, to understand that recovery is part of the training is a shift that I feel is very important in not just the jiu-jitsu community, because I feel is a reflection of the major culture, the status quo that we live under. It's the go, the, you know, go hard or go home. You know, like a lot of the fitness videos is just like grind. It's like, well, how are you gonna be able to progress if you end up injuring yourself? Then you can take a bigger setback. You know, like then there's that. So that I feel that the culture is reflective of the culture within jiu-jitsu of recovery is a grander reflection of the grander scheme of society. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like keep going until you literally just fall apart.
Or it's better.
We want to prevent that, you know?
I mean, I would say especially here in America, but in Brazil, they train really hard. I remember when Moicano from Tereri Kids Project, and he was like 14 and really good, and he had all the metabolism and everything, the energy. He would train, but like after years, like it hit his body, you know, like he never took care of himself.
And then you end up relying, like then steroids become an industry, right? So now, like, okay, yes, steroids allow you to recover quicker, and then that means you can get back to training more. Now, then that's relying on an external way to be able to continue doing something. So what I believe in, I feel, you know, I could say when it comes to recovery is that having a more holistic way of approaching it. So like you can still be super competitive in a holistic way.
Yeah.
You know, like, why not think about a different way of doing it rather than go the easy route of taking steroids? You know what I mean? And so
it's not even I don't even see it like the easy route. I just think that we are not taught about our bodies. Like the amount of the everything I learned just from school to become I felt like it was pre-med. Like I feel like everything I learned about the anatomy, physiology, myology, like how the body moves. I remember like even like I'm a blue belt, and I'm pretty bad with like steps, like I would just forget half of it along the way and try to go by instinct and just like fuck it up. And like I realized that as I started learning more about anatomy and how the body actually moves, I was really like trying shit out on the mats that I was like, wait, I know how the joints move. Like I know how to break down the body. So maybe I can just try from what I know, even though it's not like a specific move that was taught to me. And like, it would work. Like it would work sometimes.
Catching me. She straight up started catching me. I'm like, oh wait, okay.
Yeah. So, and that was just by learning more about the body, you know, and I'm just like, you know, it's like, it kind of sucks because I remember like in high school, like I had electives like marine biology and like zoology. I'm like, why are we not taught anatomy? Like we don't know about our bodies. And that then the problem is that like, then when something happens to you, you don't know how to heal yourself and you have no idea where to even begin. So what I notice a lot, you know, with people who practice jujitsu is that like, we're all really tight here in the front part of our bodies. And then, you know, because we're like in this position a lot, which is also the position that a lot of people are in general, because of like texting and, you know, computers and whatnot, that I feel like if we all took some time to really try to create a balance. So when there's something short in the body, then the antagonist muscle, the muscle that does the opposite moves, is going to be long and like weak. So the goal would be to like try to strengthen the opposite side in order to create some kind of balance in your body in order to prevent injuries, you know? So we're really about like preventative work. Dude, you can do so much preventative work. Like, yes, jujitsu is hard on the body, but if you know how to like do the preventative work to not have injuries, to not have to have surgeries at like 22, 23, which like a lot of people unfortunately have to do, then, you know, that's just really important. That's something that I would want, that I take pride in like advocating as well.
I want to pull something out of there, man.
Yeah.
So she mentioned the education. So we were taught these electives in school. Why are we not taught about anatomy? And, you know, I like to see it as to connect it to yoga now. Knowing about the body is knowing about the self. And the power of knowing self is very powerful. It's very empowering to know about self. And so just starting with anatomy, just basic anatomy of how the body works is very powerful. And imagine how that can have an effect on society, right? Like just everyone being able to just really be able to, imagine going to the doctor and say, this is feeling strange, rather than what's wrong with me. You're going to somebody else saying, please tell me what's wrong with me, rather than having the power of myself saying, I feel that something is wrong here. And I feel that is something that we as citizens of society should have. That's a certain power that you can say it's a human right almost, that everyone should be able to know their body. You don't have to be a doctor for that. And so with that mentality is why how I got into fitness, because I've been raised as an athlete, like, you know, like that's just what we do. Like I said, like I wasn't in the street, so I was in the park. So I was always playing some kind of sport, you know? And so I've been raised, you know, in this idea of living a life of an athlete. So I naturally got into fitness because I wanted to know more, you know, like it's just natural, right? Like when you're into sports, you want to get stronger and, you know, move better. And that eventually got me into learning about functional fitness. And I'm gonna stop right there real quick just to connect it. My father was a doctor in the Dominican Republic. And when he came here, he started practicing medicine and, you know, regular medicine. And he started noticing that medicine he wasn't really healing anyone. So he switched his practice and started studying Indian medicine called Ayurveda. And Ayurveda is about looking at the body, again, looking at health from a homeostasis standpoint, like wrong H word, a holistic way, right? So looking at the entire body, the self, you know, and whatever. So you get what I'm going. So I've already raised with this idea. So when I got into fitness and I found functional fitness, it made complete sense, because it's like, yeah, like you can't just look at one aspect of the self. You have to look at all aspects of the self. And so, where was I going with that?
You're talking about your father being a doctor and like how he's more holistic,
yes,
but just to mention really quickly, it's funny because you don't hear that a lot, but like I have problems with my hip and I actually got to go get an MRI tomorrow. And I was being a sports medicine doctor before COVID and they couldn't figure out what was wrong. And then I'm laying on the table, he's looking at my hip and he's like, well, are you okay? Is it maybe just something else? Like you got a boyfriend, you got like emotional problems. Damn.
It's all a part of it though.
I was like, I do, but like
it's all interconnected.
That's wonderful. I mean, not that it's wonderful that you're, that you can't figure out what's wrong, but I think that's great because a lot of the time, a lot of people a lot of people carry their ish in different places, right? Mm-hmm. So like you could carry and especially like for women, you carry it in the pelvic area. A lot of people carry their pain and their chronic issues in the back. So once like your back starts hurting, it's usually not just your back. It's usually like, that's the thing. Like we also need to look at pain. Like your body's telling you something and it's been happening for a while and now you're starting to feel the pain. So listen. And I think that unfortunately, like with jiu-jitsu, sometimes we're not taught to listen because we need to push forward, but we need to listen to our bodies. If we want them to do the job, then we need to listen to what they're trying to tell us. And if we don't know, well then, go to somebody, but don't ignore it, because if you ignore it, it's gonna come back. Like it's not gonna stop nagging you, Also like knee issues, like a lot of the times I say like when people start hurting at their knees, like usually it's not the knee, like just the knee, like it started somewhere else. Like it started at the ankle or it started at the hip and now it's moved over like to the knee, So a lot of the time, like I'll start work, like I'll have a client or I'll have somebody like, oh, like my knee hurts or my back hurts. And I'm like, okay. And I know the usual suspects already. So I'm like, okay. So then I go to another part of the body and they're like, whoa, I didn't even know I had that there. I didn't even know this was hurting. And I'm like, yeah, because it's all connected. But we're taught to compartmentalize like pain and issues. Like you have a knee issue, we're going to do surgery on the knee and then everything's going to get fixed. And it's like, no, because the issue was at the hip. So, if you don't get to the issue at the hip, then you're going to eventually start having those knee pains again.
It came back to me.
Nice.
I got the connection, So the way that I approach yoga, and so yoga I've practiced throughout my life, and this style of yoga called Iyengar yoga that I practice now has been the one that I dedicated to studying. And the more that I practiced it and studied it, I got to a point that I felt it was very powerful to share with others. So the connection I was making is that the way that I approach teaching yoga is with that mentality of having folks become more aware of their body. And so that connection with the body is made through yoga. And so that in turn will empower folks, and in a grander scheme, right? Hopefully empower in a bigger way for, in a sense, becoming better human beings and being being members of society, right? That's a big part, but that's looking at a macro way, the same, and looking at things from micro. On a micro, somebody's gonna feel better today. On a macro level, hopefully they're a better human being in society, So I wanted to make sure I closed that loop.
Nice. Well-rounded circle.
It was more like this.
I mean, yeah.
So you guys went through the accreditation processes and you guys have an obvious passion for it. What made you decide to try to monetize it or make it into a career path? And like, what was that decision like?
Well, we can't get away from selling our labor. We need to make money in some way. So, I worked a lot. I've always worked with like customer service in some way or another, retail, bank, like working with people. I know that my strength is relationships, like one-on-one with folks. And I know that I'm good at that. And so it's kind of funny because I first started with I got a degree in forensic psychology. I wanted to work with people that were just in that were just going in and out of jail. I wanted to help lower recidivism rates. I wanted to be part of like programs that help lower recidivism rates. And once I like got into the real world, I'm like, oh, this is not how it works. Like this is not like, first of all, like, right, you're going to be working like 80 hours a week and be miserable, and you're not even going to have the energy to help the people that you want. Like, it's very underfunded. Also, like, you know, mass incarceration is a real thing. Like, I realized that this is a systemic issue, and that if I did dedicate myself to this work, which is still important work, it's going to like kill me eventually, you know? So I started realizing like, okay, I need to get to the root. Like, how do we get to like shutting down the system, you know? So like, I got into like activism, which is how we met. And then from there, I started doing birth work. I wanted to help families during labor. And I really enjoyed that, but it also took up a lot of my time. Like, it was, you know, it was just like, I had to be on call all the time. And so I was like, I want something like this that helps people, but I need to have like a schedule that I can count on, because like I homeschool, like, well, we homeschool now. And so I just needed a more like reliable schedule. And so I realized that with birth work, a lot of the time I was like massaging my clients while they're in labor. And I realized that was like the most effective thing that helped them, like when they were like in this time of like pain and anxiety and everything. So I really, I saw the importance and the power of touch, and specifically like my touch. And I realized that that's something that I could make a good living off of if I took some time off and, you know, went back to school. And yeah, like if I work for myself too, you know, it's a little, you can make a good living as a massage therapist if you work for yourself. But obviously it comes with all the work that comes with working for yourself, but I'm committed to doing that because I want to be able to serve my community also like on my terms. It's very like, it's energetic work. I won't work with like just anyone. Like a lot of the time, like it has to be like a referral. I know you from somebody, like someone has to vouch for you. Because also like as a woman, like I'm just not about to let like some random person come in. Like I'm very protective of that. So, but with that is gonna come time. Like, you know, if you're new and you just wanna like, you know, and if you wanna make money or you're like in this rush to make money, which is valid, like that's true, we're all living under capitalism, right? Then you might have to take those risks and just take whomever, you know? But I feel that if I do it the way that I think is right, I know that community will hold me down too. And it's proven to be true, you know, like I get, you know, first it was like direct friends and family. Now I'm getting like referrals of friends and friends. And so, you know, it hasn't even been a full year and I already feel like community holding me down. And I feel it's just because I never didn't believe in my community, you know, like I kept that, I trusted that and I trusted the process. So yeah, and then it just kind of turned out that, I don't know, I don't think we were thinking about it while we were doing it. And I'm like, wait, we're literally doing the same thing. You're doing active restoration and I'm doing passive restoration. So yeah, it's interesting how that worked out. And now we think about also like, we're doing our own thing. We very much are our own people. And we also, you know, in the future, really see ourselves working together and teaching folks and the community how to work on like passive and active restoration and how you can incorporate both in your life.
Yeah, the decision to monetize it is a really good one because it's a way to be able to speak on, as I said earlier, doing by us, for us. So I believe that, you know, I mentioned in the beginning about studying philosophy. So one of the philosophies that, philosophies for me are like lenses, right? So it's a Marxist philosophy. So looking at that, we live in a society of where there's a class struggle. There's workers and those who own. And that relationship creates, has created the race relations that we live under and the rest of the ills of society, right? And so Marxism, what it does is that it comes and brings it down to looking at it, the fact that there's a consistent struggle between those who work and those who own. There's always going to be a battle for that, because those who own want to make more money, and the biggest expense is labor. So there's always going to be a clash there, a struggle. So I don't believe in that society. I believe that we as a civilization can live in a better way, where we can create a more homeostasis, a more holistic world. Now that's the air in me, the idealistic, right? But now, how do I create that? And so for me, what I learned in my politicization in the beginning is that I was an activist. I was in the street making, passing. I was the one passing out the flyers, making noise. We used to go on the trains to get the newspaper out. Part of like creating class consciousness. So let's have these conversations of who owns and how and why. What is the history of why they own? And that is why, racism is so tied into capitalism. Capitalism needs racism because it needs to divide, right? And of course, it used racism to create the super profits that capitalism currently sits on. So if I believe in creating a better society, a different society, then I need to, what I learned through that, I want to say that the protesting is super important, right? Being in the streets and making noise is super important. That was me at 22, 23, 24. I'm 39 now. So what I learned through that is that change comes from education, right? And creating new. So if I want to see new, I need to be new and then create new. And so for me, yoga and that education of self is vital, I feel. And so I feel that a society that put more emphasis on that would uplift civilization, not just as a country, but as a civilization, And so that's why if I had power, then I would put resources to making sure that there are more centers that people have can practice more mindful practices like yoga, like kettlebells, like jujitsu. Like these are the things that we have the resources for, and I say we now as tax-paying, citizens, right? The resources exist when jets are created for super millions of dollars, or you want to be Austin Powers. What is it? $1 trillion bazillion dollars.
Trillion dollars.
But making light of something real, that there's so much money going into how to retain power than being able to empower citizens.
Yeah.
True.
So then I feel, why am I monetizing it? Because I have dedicated myself since I was a sophomore in college, in high school, to be an accountant. That's what my father was like, you have to do, and I did it. And that's what I dedicated myself to, and so we actually made a very, unit decision that I would remain in working and selling my labor to the finance industry so that we can raise our son and not have to send him into schools to be indoctrinated by the status quo. Like, unfortunately, I say unfortunately because I would have rather not been in the office in front of a computer. But now when I think about it,
can I stop you right there? Because you have so eloquently gone through so much and are about to dive into like our second question, because you got into your son and work and how you sacrificed to be able to do that. And I want you to think about that and save that for later. But like you made so many beautiful points about like the stuff that you do for the community and people not being aware of it. So before you talk about the job thing, like I really wanted to ask you guys, knowing that you guys do so much community work, what would your recommendation be for athletes that don't have healthcare? Because so many of us don't. Damn it. If you can't see her face, it was like, you're fucked. Your fucked face. Oh my God. Oh my God.
So you want the entire podcast?
How much were the plane tickets to Brazil that you got?
All right. So I say we because like we both do certain things that try to serve a sector of community that maybe normally doesn't have access to like a massage, to yoga classes or whatever. What I do is that I offer a free massage every month. Like I do like a giveaway thing, like offer a free massage, like to someone who normally would not take care of themselves, right? He offers free yoga classes here and there to the community. And in that, I'm also trying to bring like self-massage, like trying to teach people how to do self-massage, because I think a lot of the time people in my industry specifically don't want to teach people too much. Like they want to do the massage. They want to like, okay, now come back to me every month. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, yeah, you can do that. And you can still have your clients come in and you can still empower them with the knowledge to take care of themselves. Because if anything, that helps me. Like, then I'm not like working on like your rock muscles every month. Like it helps me too, you know? So I think that like learning more about, because the information's there. Like I mean, that is a goal of mine too, is like eventually have like an archive of like self-massage, like videos and stuff like that to teach people like how to relieve the tension from their back, how to relieve the tension from their hips, you know, from their knees and everywhere that like people normally have tension. But I think that a lot of the times we don't realize that we can solve these issues ourselves if you just take the time to really like learn a little bit about your body. So like Osi was saying before, you know, you could feel like, I feel like my back hurts right here, you know? So do the due diligence, take some time, look up what muscle is this anyway, you know? Where does it originate? Where does it connect? What is its function? And just by learning that and maybe learning how to like work, like kind of like massage that one area, I guarantee you it'll be better than not doing anything. And with time and with experience, you're going to naturally then realize like, oh, I can do this maybe with like my wrist that's hurting me. You know, that pinch, like that numb feeling I feel here, like, let me look into that, you know, and then slowly start being a little more empowered. But it does take more work. Like it does take work from your side. It does take like a will to want to learn, because the information's not out there just open for you, because everyone's trying to sell their intelligence. Like, you know, everyone's trying to sell what they know. And I get it. Like everyone's trying to make money. We all have bills to pay. We all have to make a living. I get that. But I just personally don't feel like if I share this information, like I went to school for this, I'm certified, like you can't do what I do, you know, but you can do something that'll help, you know, while you see me. If you can't see me every month, like I tell people, like in a perfect world, you would get a massage every other week. But I tell people to see me once a month. And if you can't do that, if you've got to see me quarterly, well, then maybe I give clients more tools, like more ways on how to, like, there's also tools, like, actually, I'm going to go get it really quick while you share your yoga bit, because honestly, like this one tool that people can use, it targets like a lot of different points.
Is it that little thing?
It's like, yes.
It's so good.
Yes.
It's so good.
Oh, Karen uses
that.
Oh, man.
It's the way to go. But Nico, your question is actually really good, and I'm gonna approach it in two ways, because
if y'all don't have the answer, also again, like of all the people I've known, I've traveled the freaking world. If these people don't have the answer, there probably isn't one.
I mean, I don't know if I have the answer. I'm gonna share. This is my offer. No, but the thing is real, because I look at it from, again, I live a life of a athlete. I think of it as an athlete. I approach my training and my life as an athlete. And so my answer to you is to do preventative work, right? That's the ideal answer, right? So now I'm going to give you the accountant answer, like, or the accountant advice is that from whatever money comes in, take a piece and put it away automatically. Like put that aside. That's your healthcare fund, because you don't have insurance. So what are you going to do? And this is I'm gonna go to, like, you know, a little bit about the political aspect of, like, so what socialism is. It's really just planning. It's called a planned economy. So you actually plan this amount of resources for this, because we know there's that amount, right? Rather than just this surplus of just never ending making of just whatever, right? So I'm gonna say for the healthcare question, when it comes to money, then approach it like, have a plan. Like, I'm gonna take $25 every single time I get X amount of dollars and put it in my healthcare fund, because that's a very practical way of doing it. But now in a more metaphysical or like idealistic way, like start really looking into preventative ways of caring for yourself. You know, making sure that what is it that your body needs to ensure that you don't need to go to the hospital. And that's what Natalie was referring to, that takes more work, that takes knowledge, that takes, you know, it's just a lot more work.
You got to be intentional about it.
You have to.
So you can't just like, right. But that's the thing, like our society is built to force us to just go through the motions of every day sometimes and not sit and think about like what's going on. So right. Like even in a country like Cuba that has like sanctions and has like blockades and stuff, and they don't have the same kind of funding in healthcare and hospitals as we do. They focus more on preventative care. And that's why, and it's one, because they know that like, right, it's cheaper to prevent something from happening and make sure it doesn't happen than to then take care of it once it's like blown up. And so that's what they do. And that's what works for them. And that's been effective for them for years, for decades, you know? And that's the way I think about it too. Like we need to really learn how to listen to our bodies. And it's very alien to us sometimes. I even see it with my teammates when we're rolling. Like when people are rolling, sometimes like I see a lot of people don't have, like, even though we're training and we're all doing the same thing, that connection to your body, like, is not always there, you know? I remember one time, like I was like at a competition and one of my teammates was like, just getting like, you know, it was in a bad position and everyone was telling him, do this, do this, do this, do this. And I'm like, breathe. And like, I got laughed at, but I was like, yo, if you don't breathe, if you're not even listening to your body right now, which is like, if you're not bringing oxygen to your brain, you're not going to listen to your coach telling you to do what you need to do, you know? So I just use that as an example that like, we don't realize how disconnected we could be from our bodies, you know? So the important thing really is to start learning that connection, because only you can do that, you know? And then having that trust, you know, with yourself too, because then if anything does happen and you do have to go to a doctor and you have a weird feeling about what they're saying, you can kind of trust that instinct too a little bit more and not just go by like whatever a doctor tells you, you know, because you feel like you have no idea and they know everything, you know?
I was going to connect it to add to that answer is to Ayurveda that I mentioned earlier in the show. It's the medicine that is practiced in India. And it's over 2,000 years old. And its foundation is preventative work. And how can you do preventative work from an understanding of what I need in order to be whole, you know? And I wanted to make this point when it comes to recovery work and restoration, is that restoration is also not just physically, right? Now we can talk about what does emotional restoration look like and recovery, because if emotionally I'm not well, then my body may not, I'm limiting my output in a sense. My production is being limited by my emotional being, you know? So there's the emotional restoration as well. Like, what does that look like? What does that mean? And that's, I feel like that we can talk about that. And also it's like another little mini podcast.
Yeah. Just different emotions on the mats for sure. And like really realizing and being able to connect, like not just exhibiting the emotions, like getting really pissed off or angry or frustrated, but really being able to connect with it and like work through it and learn. That's really hard for a lot of people, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I don't care. I cry a lot. Like, I let it out, but I feel like that's kept me sane. And like, I feel like it keeps me leveled. Right. But I remember like I've trained and I've had days where I've gotten so frustrated. I literally lock myself in the bathroom. I'm just like cry, wash my face and just get back on the mat. And I'm like, whatever, I let it out. I feel so, I felt so much better afterwards though, that I'm like, of course, like your emotions have a toll on your body. Like if the fact that I felt like I was like sucking on my rolls and everything, and then I go into the bathroom, I just cry and come back and I feel better. Like that is proof to me that the emotion, like holding emotions, really plays a toll on your body. But just to finish, like this is, I don't know what it's called, but this is like my little S tool. I'm sure you can look it up on Amazon. It has all these little grooves, right? This is like it's like a self massager. So you could literally like put this on any point, and it's like safe for people to use who don't have as much knowledge on their body. It's like a good way to like kind of figure it out. So this is like $20, something like that. And if you're really feeling pain in some in a certain area, all these little points, I know a lot of people like might not be watching the video, but it's like an S tool.
This kind of like a back scratcher that it wraps around.
Yeah, it helps a lot.
Balls.
It helps a lot because the thing is that like massaging your own back is hard because then you're also engaging the same muscles that you're trying to alleviate while massaging yourself. Mm-hmm. So this one kind of helps. The only piece of advice I give, just because I know when it comes to your back, like I feel like 99% of the population holds tension in their back. If you're going to address one side, use the opposite hand. So like, don't massage this part of your shoulder with your arm, because then you're engaging those same muscles that you're trying to alleviate. So use the opposite hand, at least. That's my little bit of advice.
Very nice. Very nice. I like it. Have you used one of those, Tim?
I played with one before, but I never bought one or used it extensively. I'm more of a foam roller guy, or a one of those rolling sticks with the barbs on it.
Yeah, that one's nice.
Yeah, I'm more of that. And then as far as preventative maintenance, I tore my rotator cuff a few years ago. So I do a medicine ball routine where I activate my shoulders and get them warmed up. I think a lot of the issues too with grapplers is that guys just go out there without a good warm up. I think that's a huge issue. Like I always feel as though I got to warm up and move my muscles up so I can get them moving, because if you just go from a static state to just pow, something's going to tear, it's like redlining your car when you first turn it on in the morning. But I mean,
real quick, Tim, I'm sorry, but I've always wanted to say this. Now I have a stage to say this. And can we please change the warm-ups in jiu-jitsu from running? And here's why from a physical standpoint, what the running tensions the posterior chain of the body, which is what we need in order to be able to hold on to a lot of submissions, to be able to, anyway, if you know about it, the posterior chain of the body is very important in jiu-jitsu. Running only tenses that. Let's change the warm-ups in jiu-jitsu. I have ideas. Hit me up.
You remember, Tim.
Tighten your hips.
But, yeah.
You're the only one that ever warmed up. At TLI, it's like you get there early if you want to warm up, or like just let them know when you want to warm up, but you're going to warm up by yourself.
Yeah, I have a solid warm-up routine with a lot of functional movements and stuff, but like running is one of the last things. Like if I'm going to do it. Yeah, just a lot of rolling and like extending your muscles and getting them loose and get a good sweat in. And then I just like being active with my warm-up too. Do you guys have any other recommendations for a good recovery regime though? Like simple stuff.
Now you got to give a warm-up. Now you got to give a recommendation for a warm-up too, since you just went on running. What do you replace running with?
That's an easy answer for me because it's something that I do. So every joint of the body, movement. So if the joint is not working properly, it's going to be leakage of energy, right? So in order for me to transfer strength through my arm, the joint, I can do that more optimally if the joints are working well, right? Let's make it very simple, right? So how do we do that? How do we keep the joints healthy? Is by every morning, you can do as many as you like. I do 3. You can do 5, 8, whatever. Take every joint of your body and put it through its articulation.
Range of motion.
It's a range of motion. So every joint, start from the very top all the way to the very bottom. So start with the neck. How can the neck move? It can move sideways, it can move up and down, it can move, and then same thing with the shoulder. Put it into entire full range of motion. Now there's, I'm gonna forget the system right now, but as you're doing this, you don't wanna be loosey-goosey, right? You wanna be able to actually hold yourself up, but without tense. It's not tension to not to brace, right? Not bearing down. It's a bracing. So to be able to hold yourself up against gravity is the way I like to describe it. And then with that, then you put the joint through its range of motion. So, you know, think of every joint and put it through this range of motion. That includes fingers. A big one, especially because I'm not gonna say we, because I'm very mindful about making sure that I spend a lot of time barefoot. It's also people who, you know, jiu-jitsu people actually have that, but even if you see like, if you see jiu-jitsu people, maybe their feet are, you know, like glued together, it's because spending too much time in shoes. So allowing the feet to spread is very important. So putting the joints through the range of motion and spreading your toes, spread the toes as much as you possibly can, even with your feet in your shoes, is very important. Those are the two recovery tips that I would say that are easy, that anybody can do, right? You don't need to see me do the routine. It's anybody can do.
Wow.
Okay, and then
I never thought of that.
Yeah.
For the people that are like, well, screw stretching your toes, could you explain why it's important? Like, there are a lot of important things in your feet that like run up your body, correct?
You want to do this one, or
What?
You want to answer this?
He
one?
said stretching toes, like, because I know a lot of
that
people are gonna be like, what, toes, who cares, and skip it.
Right, we don't look at the body like a whole organism working together, because Western medicine has taught us, like I said earlier, to compartmentalize, right? So we don't see the value in like stretching our toes, but there's a chain that goes from your toe literally all the way up to like your face, or to the side. Like if it's on the side, you know, it goes all the way through the side, you know? So a lot of the times we have tight sides. So if your toe, if you can't even move your pinky toe, I guarantee you, if you work on like trying to just move that pinky toe, you will eventually with time start seeing a result in like the loosening up of your sides in general, like your, you know, your peroneal muscles on your leg, your TFL, like all of that works together. All of that is like a chain, like a train line. So look at it like, you know, you need to do the maintenance work on every stop on the train, you know, in order for the line to work properly. So for my bit of advice for restorative work is that with jujitsu, there's a lot of flexion going on. There's a lot of, like I said earlier, like your shoulders forward, your neck, your cervical spine back here is stretched because your neck is more forward, your fingers and your hands and almost everything's in flexion, almost everything. So my bit of advice is to work on the extension. So one, stretching your pecs. And so one of my favorite stretches is like a pec stretch where I put my hand my arm is like parallel to the wall. And I'll just take like a lunge forward straight, and you'll feel the stretch in your pecs, right? And then I put the elbow like where my ear is, and then I do it again. And then you feel a stretch again in your pecs, but like it's like the deeper muscles of your pecs, right? So you need to stretch those when you've been holding, tensing for so long. And then also doing the work to strengthen the extensor muscles, the muscles that extend, that do the opposite antagonist work that the front muscles are doing, to create that wholeness, that balance in your body. And a lot of the time, like you can, jujitsu practitioners can have like, you know, bulging discs, you know, or just have issues with like their cervical spine because their neck is like, you know, your neck is never on the mat. You have to keep your neck off the mat, and that requires a lot of strength, a lot of flexion. So like I wake up and I do a lot of like extension, like neck extension. I even do like sometimes like I'll pull down and I'll just like pull up, and you're feeling that stretch here while you're extending and strengthening these muscles back here. With time and repetition will create more balance, and it'll help prevent injuries as well. So just focus on the the extension. So like rows, right? Mm-hmm. He's better with the workouts. I'm like, I know you have to extend, but I forgot the actual like workout that you have to
that's
do.
why you guys make a good team, the perfect team.
Well, and you know, to bring in, going back to what we were talking about, like the emotional recovery and that like restoration there, I would also say just taking time to just be silent. And, you know, in yoga, I end every class with what's called shavasana. It's a corpse pose where the body is just laying on the ground. where you don't have to worry about what it's doing. You can really just allow and connect to the breath. So in yoga, you know, we're taught that the essence of life is in the breath, and being able to connect to that essence is very important. And it brings a tranquility and a connection that, you know, that we all have that we may not be more tuned to because of XYZ, right? So I would say that getting to that level requires practice. And when I say practice, I mean actual practice of yoga postures, because it helps to prepare the body, the self, which means the mind, the body, the soul, for that tranquility, right? And what I mean by that is that you may have somebody who doesn't practice the poses, who may want to go and be in corpse pose and not be able to quiet the mind and have what's called a monkey mind, right? Like where the monkey mind is just going. And that can be facilitated through the practice of poses. Now, am I going to say you have to go through a whole yoga thing for you to be able to try, you know, quieting your mind? No, like take 5-10 minutes every day if you can, to be able to really just be and just observe the breath. How is the breath coming into the body, and how is the breath leaving the body? Just that practice alone is very powerful.
Yeah. Even if you don't quiet your mind the whole 5 minutes, at least you try it, right? You didn't do it so great today, then you try tomorrow, and tomorrow might be better, but like you're not gonna get it if you don't make the attempt every single time.
Very true. Very true. All right. So to wrap it up, let's get back to where I cut you off. Another, like, because everybody always asks for it, like, ask about like money in jujitsu. And I was going to ask you, like, how the hell do y'all do it? Because like you guys live in New York. You mentioned the Bronx. I know you moved out of the Bronx, but again, like you live in New York. I met you in Rio with your son. You were there for like a month. Like
no, we were there for 10 days. We can't ever be more than 10 days because of his job.
Okay, so they came, okay, so they were there for 10 days, which is still a really long time, because most people don't like leave or go on vacation for more than a couple days. Like we mentioned before, you homeschool your son. Y'all travel all over the place. Like you guys just got back from Florida, like Colombia, like you're Dominican, Colombian. So you guys travel back home, but you guys get around. How the hell do y'all do it? Like you mentioned how you were sacrificing to be an accountant before, but like,
yeah, I mean, honestly, the answer could be very, like, yes, I work as an accountant, right? That makes it easy. Now,
but not in New York. You still live in New York. You guys
no, I was
like
get, I was,
either
I'm glad
for the grammar, you have like space too, because you have space in New York.
No,
well, now we have space in New York because we lived in a 625 square foot apartment for 10 years. So
with one closet,
right? And he moved there, that was his bachelor pad, and he had like just one dog. And then I moved in, and then we got another dog, and then I got pregnant, and then it's like 5 beings in this house, and I'm like, I'm gonna lose my mind. But we stayed there because it was rent stabilized.
Rent controlled?
No, rent controlled is like when the rent never goes up, like it doesn't change at all. And rent stabilized is like it goes up like $20 a year tops, right?
Wow.
So we were basically just thugging it out in that apartment to save money. And that's the thing, is that we were not trying to keep up with appearances. So like, I'm actually kind of frugal on like my own stuff. Like it looks like I have a lot of clothes, but then I go to like my other friend's house. I'm like, no, I do not. Like, I just don't feel like I spend a lot of money on like going out to eat. Like I cook a lot, but I like cooking. And so like, yeah, like we just save money, like not spending a lot of money on like the regular stuff. I also bartended for a long time. So we kind of had like free nightlife kind of situation going on. Which is what I think in New York, people spend a lot of money on gold. People will spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, like they'll spend rent money in one night. So
I've seen it. I don't understand.
We just didn't do that.
It's also, you know, like I mentioned earlier, like having philosophies give you lens of how to approach life, right? So because I have the lens that I have, then I'm not, how do I say this? I want to invest into what is going to move, this is my purpose forward, right? So what can I invest in? That means that I plan what I put my money into. So my money goes into educating myself. It goes into educating our child. And then we save a lot of money in order, because we know we like to travel. So it all goes back to that we make a plan. And that is really how we're able to do it, you know? So every paycheck, I make sure that I put X amount of money into we're going to be out somewhere fun.
I'm also like crazy. Like I will find the best deal. Like I am a detective at heart. Like I feel like if, you know, in another life or in another like world, I would be like an investigator, because I can find the best deal on this, that, and the third, and I will not give up until I do. And if I don't, like if I find a better deal later, I'll fight it and I'll get it. Like, so I don't know. I think it's just a matter of like, that is the important thing to us is like travel, and not just travel, but like experience, because COVID changed a lot for us, right? We're like, oh crap, like we can't go anywhere. So we went to Florida, and we drove to Florida because I didn't want to get on a plane. And then also like our dogs are getting old now, and we're like, yo, we want our dogs to kind of like be with us now, you know, like just be with us on these trips. So we're like, yo, let's do this road trip. Let's make one stop so we don't like less exposure. And then we just stayed in an Airbnb for 2 weeks. And it's not like we were like, you know, painting the town red. Like we were just literally doing what we were doing here, but in 80-degree weather, like, cause we just needed it, you know? So yeah, like, and then, right. Like we weren't going out to eat every day. Like I went to the Publix, I stocked up, like I was cooking, like on vacation, you know? So it's just more like, I don't think about it like vacation. I just think like I'm living here for a week. I'm living there for a week. So how do you live, you know? And I think that a lot of people also spend a lot of money when they're on vacation, because they don't want to do the things that they do at home because they work so hard. Like I get that. But if you want to make your dollar last longer, well, then maybe cook a few days out of the week that you're on vacation, and you'll save a ton of money, you know?
I mean, that's not like a point to gloss over. That's actually a very good point, that folks who are overworked are, you know, we enjoy making food. We follow very specific, you know, like the way we eat plant-based and whole food, plant-based. So we know that we're going to buy vegetables and make our own food. Like that's just the way, again, like we plan our things. Now, I was going to say is that the real thing is that people are overworked, and they're not going to want to go to Rio and cook. You know what I'm saying? Like they want to go and be, in a sense, be served, because they're always serving others.
Yeah,
and they're selling the labor. And honestly, workers deserve that 100%. Now, how are you able to do that? I'm going to bring it back to planning. You know, like regardless of what you work for, if you, and this is the point that I'm trying to make, a bigger point, is that in our society, I don't think that there's a lot of value put into the process of something. It's just the output. You know, so that, yes, I have a goal. I want to travel. So then how are you going to make that happen? So you have a goal, make a plan, work the plan, and then the goal will happen. And you don't have to focus on the goal anymore. You can now put your focus on what's going to make you in the process to reach that goal. And that goes into anything, you know? So that's the way that we approach being able to buy a place. You know, we said, we're going to be in this one bedroom, you know, one bedroom, one closet for 10 years. And then because we knew we didn't want to give the landlord any more money. You know, we knew that we eventually wanted to not give this slumlord, because that's what, you know, a lot of New York landlords are, you know, any more money. So ultimately, yes, we're not giving the landlord any more money, but the banks are still getting it.
Yeah, we're still doing it.
You know, so it's like, you know, like that's a real thing about, like, yes, we could be mindful about what we want to create. We also have to be aware that we want to create something new, but also be mindful that we live under the system. You know, like yeah, we're not giving the landlord money, we're giving the bank money, and still my money is going to who? You know, so that's why it's important to do this work of recovery and all that. When I talk about now the macro level, not losing sight that the system itself needs to be changed.
Yeah, like
the system, you can put flowers and make it better. At the end of the day, somebody's still going to that struggle that I mentioned in the beginning will still remain. Somebody will still have to work, and somebody's still going to own. And until that is changed, that struggle will always remain. So yeah, we could do as much as we can to help others and, you know, and offer ourselves and offer free classes. And because that's what we want to create. We want to create, we want to reflect a society that we want to create as individuals. Now, how can, as a collective, we do that? Then we start talking about change. You know?
Buying land as a collective. So like I heard y'all had conversations in the past too about like having land, having your own space, and that is like very empowering, because then, you know, you figure out what you do with that land, you know, and like, yes, it's not easy to do it, especially in the United States, because land is so expensive. But I really love that trend that I see now, that folks are like, you know what, like, what if I just put this money down on this land, and then I'll, like, you know, then I can do what I need to do in this space, you know, whether it's like for yourself or like bring the whole community in. And that's something that like I strive for too in the future, you know, to be able to have that space for folks to be able to come and work together. What they call like commoning, which is like work, you know, everybody working to commoning, aka like what people have been doing in the hood like forever in order to survive.
Right,
you know?
but more, that's kind of like what I've been doing, like where I work during the day and everything. Like we just kind of have a space in the community where like they have video editing, they have like a gym, like, and I know a couple of other people, I guess Tim's kind of trying to do that at his house, you know, have it something that's open to the community where more people can learn, train, do jujitsu, film their content, you know, give back to people.
Yeah, I know, and it's important. We need to be the example that like, I feel like I'm simultaneously doing two things, like we're fighting and resisting against the system that we want to change, but then we also, then it's like, okay, but once we change the system, or once there is that change, then what is the reality that we want? We need to start showing that now. We need to start working towards like the life that we want now, you know, and not just always talk about like fighting against what there already is. A lot of us know what the issues are already. So, but a lot of us don't get to see what a different world could really be, because we're so stuck in like, you know, that hamster wheel. So I really, I see that I'm in a place where I'm able to maybe be that example of like, this is something that we can do. And I use that even with like, you know, with Pavs and Fernando and all of that. Like, honestly, like we're actually a really good example of being able to work together. So for the unit, right? Like, don't just worry about yourself, you know, because honestly, like we all have kids, you know, when we were all training together, we would like even in Bronx Jiu-Jitsu, like our coach Junior, he has kids too. And like, honestly, if it wasn't for the fact that he was family oriented and like they would just let the kids be on the mat sometimes, and go literally in the middle of him teaching something, we'd be like, yo, shut up over there. Like tell the kids to like, be quiet.
Yeah, I remember I came down and you're like, it's family night. And I was like, what is there, kids classes? And like, no, there's just going to be a rack of kids there.
No,
like,
they're just going to be loud ass kids on the side while we train. And every once in a while we're like, yo, you're too loud. But the thing is that a lot of, and there's single parents that go and they're able to feel comfortable to go and not have like daycare. They can train because they know that their kids are going to be held down there, and because we all take care of them. And
it's not like there's a kids area. There's like a little side of the mat.
No, it's not a kids area. It's like literally like a strip.
They made it.
And and we just like kind of make them go over there, and then we're like, get off the mat. But
yeah, no, this ain't like Crazy 88 where they're in the opening reception on the couches with their iPads. Like this is like New York space, like
Disney movies really playing and stuff. Yeah, not like that at all.
Yeah, so we wouldn't be able to do that if we weren't like the examples of like this. We can hold each other down with the little resources that we have, right? With that little strip of space that we have in between the mats and the exit. Yeah, whatever, let's put all our kids there, but at least we can all train, you know? And we don't have to worry about childcare and pay, like, right, jujitsu is expensive as it is. Like, you're gonna do jujitsu and then pay for childcare too. I just can't imagine being able to do that, you know? So I'm really appreciative of the community that we've built, and we hold each other down when we need each other. And so I tell people that, like, even if right now you don't feel like you need that, it's good to extend your help out to someone, because you never know when you're going to need it. And it's good to start creating that community, you know, the sooner the better, because it'll come back to you.
Very true.
It's that tribe mentality, you know?
Yeah.
Don't you guys have a shared car?
A shared car?
Yeah.
Well, whenever they want to borrow it, they use it. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah,
yeah.
I said actually, you know, it's funny. I'm like, I picked up my friend today because, you know, in New York, like people don't have, like, you can have money and not have a car because it's like, it doesn't make sense sometimes. But we moved to Yonkers and now it's like, we have parking, which is crazy. Like it's unheard of. And like, I went to go see my friend, pick up something. And she's like, can you drop me off here really quick? And I'm like, yeah, sure. I'm like, this is the people's car. Like, you don't have a car, I'll drop you off real quick. I just got to be back before 6. It's all good, you know? I kind of felt that way when we got the car. I felt like, okay, yeah, I'm not going to be like everyone's driver, but I just feel like I have this privilege of this car. I feel like it's my duty sometimes to like hold people down and like drop you off. The happiest thing, one of the best things you could tell a New Yorker is I'll drop you off. Like I will take you and you don't got to take that train. Like you see people's faces light up. I'm like, oh yes, I love this.
That's a great point. That's great that you guys do that.
Awesome. You guys are holding it down. I really like how you're using your altruism to kind of empower people and still make a lane for yourself so you can be independent and continue what you're looking and continue your vision for how you want the world to be. That's incredible. And that's kind of like what we try to do here. I commend you guys, truly.
Nah, thank you so much. You know, like the yoga, one of the things that yoga has taught me is about living a purposeful life. And the thing is that how can you find your purpose? And that's a real question that nobody should answer other than yourself, right? And that when can you answer that? Like, and there's a lot of pressure of like, what is my purpose? And I feel that that's a question, and I welcome folks who are listening to this and watching this to take a real moment and really answer what is my purpose and be able to write it down. Because for me, what that has provided is a real direction in the sense of how to move in life, how to maneuver in life, right? So once you have a goal, it makes it a lot clearer. My decisions of, okay, putting money aside for traveling, putting aside money for education become clear because my purpose as a person in this life, as a unit of this civilization is a lot clearer, you know?
Yeah, like Master Lloyd always teaches us to do kind of stuff like that. And so like we write it down. And he always likes that book, like Think and Grow Rich. And it, like a lot of people will call it a corny book or whatever. It like really, it does encourage you like think of what your purpose is and like what you want, and then like who will help you to get it, how you'll do it, like who will help you is a big one, how you'll reach your goal and like what you need, and like really actually think about it. So like that's definitely something that I keep on my wall and I look at all the time, and I kind of go back and reevaluate it. Like the people who will help, there's definitely people crossed off on here and other people added.
It's ever evolving.
That's real. Sometimes you think people are on the same page as you, and then you know when you're in that vulnerable state and you need that help, you're like, oh, this person is only capable of receiving and they don't have the capacity to give for whatever reason that may be, right? But at least you learn your lesson. And so yeah, I've learned that. I mean, I think I have definitely for sure.
I'm glad you mentioned Professor Irvin before we began, because definitely want to give him props. You know, with this whole thing with what's it called, American Jiu-Jitsu coming up, that marketing scheme, and not giving props to one of the you know, I feel representations of American Jiu-Jitsu and Professor Irvin. You know, it just shows the racism behind the whole project, and it just shows how, you know, racism is still very alive. And just simply as how can you not bring up, you know, Professor Irving in American, you know, like just one of many, right? Because the community exists, and it's very sad. And I just want to make sure that I go on, you know, and say that, and please give my props to Professor Irving when you see him.
Yeah,
for sure.
Needs to be said. There needs to be more voices, more platforms, and then we'll avoid problems like this. It's hard.
Yeah, that's why we're here. Any further questions, Nico?
Nah, I'm good. Great conversation with you guys. I don't even know how long it's been.
I learned a lot. Thank you guys for coming on. Is there anything you would like to plug before we go?
See, this is when selling myself is still hard. Yeah, no, I mean, if you want to know more about like what we do or our work and to keep connected, I can just give my IG handle is Red Mother Alchemist. My website, well, it's in Spanish, so it's a little hard. It's alquimiamassage.com. So it's alchemy, but in Spanish. So alquimiamassage.com. So you learn more about my work and what I do and my services. And honestly, like I'm a sucker for like someone who like DMs me. It's like, yo, like I have this pain here. Like I'm not gonna like probably ignore you. So like feel free to reach out to me. I'm the kind of person that has no shame in reaching out to people if I need anything. So like if you have any questions or anything like that, or anyone wants to connect with me when it comes to restorative work, please feel free to hit me up. I try to make myself as accessible as possible.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Honestly, I want to just give you all the props that you both deserve, you know. So Nico, again, you, like I mentioned in the beginning, you hold a very special place in my heart.
Thank you.
You've always been doing beautiful work, and it's because of that beautiful light that shines inside of you. And you see it in the way you behave, the way you speak, and, you know, you deserve all the blessings that come your way. So keep doing your thing. And Tim, I can't wait to see more gold medals around you. Honestly, watching you roll, man, is very inspiring. You know, like the yoga itself, my mentor says, take a pose in a way that it inspires somebody to want to do the pose. That is the light inside of you really emanating, because it inspires somebody else. Anytime you do any work, what I got from that is that it should inspire somebody else to do it, to do something, right? And watching you compete really inspired me, because now after COVID, I've been wanting to get back because I can't. The competitor in me has been dying.
Right.
And man, honestly, watching your videos really, you know, like I said in the beginning, I started with judo, and watching you, the way you approach and how much of how vicious you are. Because I want to say killer. Is a vicious. How do you say it?
I don't think that's a word.
You don't say no? Viciosity?
Viciousness? Viciosity, wow.
The level, like, for
it. And I, you know, I actually went back to train yesterday for the very first time in COVID with the mentality of I'm going to be on the podium. And that's really, you know, watching you in your roles and your matches really inspired that. So, you know, thank you.
My last thing is I say you guys keep this up. I'm so glad to see more Black and brown voices. Like, we need that. Like, we just need that representation more. And what you guys are doing with this podcast is dope. It's very inspiring too. And like, I hope that y'all also inspire other folks to speak their truths and create their platforms for whatever it is that they do. So I really appreciate y'all for this, and thank you so much again for having us.
Well, real quick, because I do the yoga is because the thing with yoga is that I've been teaching, and I took a break from teaching because I felt, especially with the Zoom thing, is very weird. You know, imagine teaching yoga, and I had to take a step back to really kind of, I don't want to say reinvent, but really think about how I'm going to make my offering more impactful, because I don't want to just teach to teach. You know, I want to be able to teach to really be able to touch lives. So what I've done is that now I've created, I didn't create the course. Actually, the course that I follow is the course that I trained under. So now how do I take that course and make it discernible, right? So what I'm doing is that I created curriculums. That's going to be quarterly curriculums. So starting actually tomorrow is the very first day of my first curriculum that I'm putting out, that I'm offering to the collective, where I'm teaching foundational classes week 1 at 10 in the morning, and then the following week the same classes in the evening. So it's going to alternate 10 and 6.
So they're live classes?
So that people can, you know, depending on their schedule. They are live, they are Zoom, they still are in Zoom. But what I'm saying is that now I have a curriculum that if you want to be able to have something that you can follow, and you've been looking for something to do, especially men of color, especially jiu-jitsu guys, these are the people who I really want to get. Of course, everybody's more than welcome to come, but I'm doing very specific work with men in yoga, because the way that we are raised in this society is to hold a lot of tension. And so yoga has helped me connect to all the elements. Air and Fire is the name of my my project, because air and fire is very alive, very, you know, those elements are very alive.
Those are yang energies too.
So
masculine energy.
So jiu-jitsu and yoga have taught me to get in touch with the water and the earth that I was very disconnected. And I share this because just yesterday, like I said, it was my first time rolling. I felt a huge difference in my rolling because of this new awareness, let's call it, this new connection that I have, this holistic, or this homeostasis that I feel in my body. So I truly believe that the more holistic and the more homeostasis we have in ourselves, the more we're going to be able to share with others. So my classes, airfireyoga.punchpass.com. If you like to follow an entire curriculum, you can do it. Or if you want to just drop in for a class, you still can. Even though it is a curriculum, you still can drop in as classes. I do offer free classes every Tuesday. Again, the first week is 10 in the morning. The second week, it'll be 6 in the evening. Those are free classes. And then these I'm super excited about. On Sundays at 11 o'clock, I'm teaching yoga for the kids, where my son is actually going to be helping me. I'm very happy about that. It's going to be a 45-minute class, and it is free as well. And all the other classes are low cost. I am at a position that I am able to offer. You know, we spoke about monetizing. Now, am I monetizing because I need the money? Like, I want to get more money? I'm monetizing because in our society, money does hold accountability, you know? So buy this package so that you are able to hold yourself accountable. Now, I'm letting you all know, I'm putting that money aside because I plan things to be able to put together a retreat eventually in the summertime. So everybody knows what the money is going for. And so these are low cost classes. They're very intentionally low cost because I want to be able to get it to as many people as possible. And I'll be honest, once I'm not selling my labor to finance, the prices are going to have to go up because we still got bills to pay. You know, so, you know, like that's that's just being real about where we, you know, like where we live. So Airfire Yoga is the IG handle. airfireyoga.punchpass.com is the website for the schedule. Yeah. So thank you again. Much love to you.
Yeah, we'll drop all that in the description. I think that's a really dope idea. I think that's very much so necessary. Also, that you need to do a library, please, because, you know, no disrespect to the dude for Yoga for BJJ, but like the people where I train like to do that after training. And like, I'm Buddhist, so I meditate and I do a lot. And I'm also like having an MRI tomorrow. So clearly, like, I have a problem. I'm in a lot of pain. And it's come to my conclusion that I hate that man. Like, he is not a calming person. Like, he's not a calming person. Not that I hate him, but I can't do yoga. I can't do his yoga because he's not calming. He's not good for my mental. He's like, and it's not that he's not calming.
That's real. And you know what? Yoga, just like jiu-jitsu, is a reflection of who you are. And honestly, like, as zen and as friendly as I am, you're not gonna get along with everybody, and that's real. So like that yoga, maybe he's zen for other people, but not for you.
No, and then he's not really zen at all. He just, and then like, I don't want to say in his accent and immigrants, but like he is a white dude, so he's not like, he's very much so different from everybody, like from myself. And he's just making jokes and like, you know, I get the yoga for BJJ and how it has a niche, but then like, I want yoga for yoga. Like,
that's true.
I want yoga for yoga. I don't feel like you can get the breath, or I don't feel like you can get that understanding of yourself or really embrace yoga because he talks through it and he's talking like stupid shit, like not anything that, like, no, but he'll be like, oh yeah, the people in the background at your gym, they're talking, you know, show them to shut up because you're doing your yoga. And like, that's not getting me calm. Like, you know, I just came to the conclusion that it's just better not to do it at all. Like, I was like, I can
just boot camp yoga or something. I was
like,
oh no.
Well, that does bring me to something that yoga itself is like a wisdom that was passed down. A lot of like these what I call like hidden knowledges are passed down through words. But because in the West they need to see the books, then is invalidated. So the truths that are held in other traditions, right? Even like in Yoruba, for example, as a religion, it's passed down through words. So yoga was actually passed down through words. And so yoga itself is not just the poses. It's a philosophy. And in the West, what has happened? The same thing that they did to hip hop, the same thing that's happening with American Jiu-Jitsu. It's been taken to be monetized. I can't stand it. It's been taken and commercialized. So they take what they want to be able to commercialize. So yoga, let's take just the physical aspect of yoga and put you in these poses and strip away the meat of yoga, the philosophy, the idea, the values, because the value of yoga is against the status, the culture of the status quo. This culture of the status quo is not empower yourself, is not get to know yourself, is sell your labor, give me your money. Like, to put it quite frankly,
That's the constant struggle we go through. Trust me, it's all do. But it looks like you guys have got a plan. It looks like you guys are doing a fantastic job. And thanks again for coming on the show. Nico, anything else you want to say? Anything you trying to plug? I mean, we got a lot of stuff going on.
No, I have nothing new to plug this week other than, follow me on Instagram, favelajujitsu.com.
And you can follow us on Patreon at patreon.com/BJJ Goons. Make sure you go to the store. You can get yourself a sweet Mushmaster tee or hoodie or sweater for Favela Jiu-Jitsu and My Brother's Keeper, all that good stuff. Remember, support Black businesses. You can see that at the Favela Jiu-Jitsu store at favelajujitsu.com. You can find me at Tim Spriggs BJJ on Instagram or Facebook. This has been the BJJ Goons podcast. See you guys next time. Peace.
Peace.